Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Julian Grace. Well, this weekend is heating up with even warmer temperatures expected tomorrow. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. And Anthony, how are things looking right now?
Julian, we've been seeing temperatures out there mainly in the 90s. Feels like values, though, widespread here, close to, if not at over 100 degrees. We're at 102 currently is what it feels like in Goldsboro, 106 in Clinton, dropping there to 99 there around the Triangle. It was up about 102 here for most of us. That future heat index, though, what it will feel like the next couple of hours, even if you're headed out to dinner plans, let's say at 8 o'clock this evening, feeling like 100 in some spots, right around 95 there in the Triangle, 96 there for Rocky Mount. We get into the next couple of days, though, our heat is really going to crank back up. It's another one of those patterns here where we see feels like values in the triple digits. 106 on Monday, 108 on Tuesday, 105 by the time we get into Wednesday. Just plain dangerous heat for us the next couple of days. Where we start to get a little bit of relief comes in for Friday, Saturday with some rain chances on the way. Those muggy meter chances, though, for us, Julian, the next couple of days. We are squarely in the tropical category for us through the majority of this week. We will talk about those, some big-time rain chances headed this way that will help to cool us off, Julian, in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Now let's go to some breaking news in Raleigh, where police are still searching for a man accused of shooting someone. That person is recovering in the hospital this evening after the shooting near Cardinal Gibbons High School this afternoon. Let's go right on over to the scene. WRAL's Carly Hayes is live on Amber Ridge Lane. Carly, what else do we know about this shooting?
Well, Julian, investigators were here for about 3.5 hours. Detectives were focusing their efforts over on that side of the apartment complex for most of the time that they were here, gathering evidence. Listen to this dispatcher on Broadcastify radio traffic right after that call went out.
We're getting multiple calls about a man with a long gun. Says that everybody's running from the pool area. They heard about 5 to 6 shots.
When police arrived around 2 today, they found a man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital, and he is expected to survive. Our WRAL breaking news tracker saw multiple evidence markers on the grounds near the apartment complex. Forensics also on scene here, and people who live here say this is usually a calm complex. Now they're waiting for more information about who might have been involved.
They ain't catch him yet, so
we don't know what's going on. And they didn't really tell us anything, so we don't know any part of what's happening right now, so we don't know what to do, you know.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news. There has been an incident at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally. It appears shots have apparently been fired and Donald Trump has been injured. I'm going to pause to let you see the video as it played out.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
Hawkeye's here.
So here's what we know at this hour. What sounds like shots rang out. The former president grabbed his ear, and as he fell, was immediately surrounded by security behind the podium. And as you can see in these images, he was surely rushed off the stage. This is an emerging situation. NBC's Dasha Burns is at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and joins us now. Dasha, what do we know?
Jose, we're still waiting to confirm a lot of the details here. A lot of question marks still up in the air. Here's what I can tell you from my vantage point, because I was standing right here as Trump first came onto the stage. He was just a few minutes into his speech at this rally. I was in front of a camera, and I was walking off of the press risers here down below to the ground level where all of the general attendants are, as we heard what sounded like gunshots ring out out. My producer and I ran to take cover, as did several of the people that are in attendance here. Most people ducking down, the press that were behind the risers, press that were at our media tables, ducking down under the tables as we weren't sure what was going on. Our crew who was up on the stage captured some of that video that you showed, the former president getting protected by his Secret Service. They covered him. He looked to have some blood on his face. It looked like his ear was bloody. A lot of chaos and confusion. No one was sure where the gunshots sounded like gunshots were coming from. The former president, as we know, is now inside the motorcade. He may at this point be off-site. The folks here are now evacuating. A lot of confusion, some anger, people yelling at the press here, not sure what to make of what has just happened. The former president was just standing on the stage. He was talking about immigration under President Biden when all of this erupted into chaos. Again, just moments into his appearance here in Butler, Pennsylvania. So far, we're safe. Our crew is safe. We have not seen anyone injured. We have not heard of anyone injured yet, but certainly unexpected, confusing, and we are still waiting to find out what exactly transpired here, Jose.
And Dasha, we want to go back to that video because, as you indeed state, it does seem as though what appears to sound like shots, a number of them did ring out, and the former president clutched his right ear. We saw him that after that he was taken towards that motorcade, and here, or just moments afterwards, you can see from what seems to be his ear, blood in his ear, and there's some blood on his cheeks, but he is conscious. He is with his fist raised in the air as there seems to be blood coming from his right ear. He was conscious the entire time, still is conscious in every single one of the frames of the video that we have here on NBC News as he is being taken into that SUV. There were also moments right after those apparent gunshots rang out where we were able to hear the officials. And let's just listen in together to this.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I counted about 8 to 11 what seems to be gunshots, and you will be able to hear now
When you're ready, on you.
as they're getting ready to transport the former president. And we see now some heavily armed special SWAT team members. But listen to what they say here.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we
Shooter
good?
is down, is what one said.
Let's move. Let's move.
This was just moments ago in Pennsylvania. And we'll see the former president stand up with the help of a few people.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on in your head.
He says, let me get my shoes.
Watch out.
Donald Trump still speaking as he raises his fist. And there you can see in the middle part of your screens what seems to be blood coming out from his right ear, conscious, shaking and waving that fist as about 5 people help him down the stairs and towards that SUV. And I could hear about 8 to 10 or 11 what seems to be gunshots. Dasha.
Jose, as we stand here, there are a lot of people yelling at the press pen right now, a lot of anger from the people here. I'll tell you, just emotionally, there's been a roller coaster just over the last 10 minutes or so since this happened. It went from confusion, people not sure if what they were hearing was fireworks, but as those sounds continued, as you said, 8 to 11 or so consecutively, people realized this might be dangerous, this might be gunshots. people started to get down, to hide, to feel that fear, that adrenaline that, frankly, I felt as we were trying to make sense of the situation and make sure that our team here and our colleagues here were safe. Then, when you saw the former president in that video get up and raise his fist, we did hear cheers erupt from the crowd, people chanting USA, USA, and the former president was taken into the motorcade. People started to clear out, and now, as this place is empty, littered with water bottles, just looks like a scene of escape right now. Very chaotic exit for everyone. The few people that are remaining are very angry with the media. We are feeling a lot of rage from people right now as everyone is trying to process what just happened. Of course, it is not uncommon for the former president at his rallies to point out the media, to call them fake news, and to target the frustration of his supporters towards the press. And that is a little bit of what we are experiencing right now as people are trying to make sense of what happened, what was supposed to be and was just before these sounds rang out, just before this incident, a pretty jovial, celebratory mood. Music was playing. The former president had just started his speech, and then everything changed, Jose.
When you're ready, on you.
I want to bring in Tom Winter, a special correspondent. Tom, what we can discern from these images that we have from just moments ago is that the former president was speaking, and then as what appear to be gunshots start ringing out, more than one, Tom, is when he seems to touch his right ear, and almost quickly right after that starts dropping, and then that's when the security joined him. But Tom, it looks as though from this image that there is blood just from his right ear, which may have also grazed his cheek.
Jose, I want to stress to everybody that it is preliminary. The information that I am sharing with our audience right now is very early in this investigation. Everything I say is subject to change as law enforcement gathers more information as an investigation continues. I can say with some sense at this time, based upon law enforcement officials that have been briefed initially on the events at the ground, and reporting along with my colleague Jonathan Dinks at 6:29 Eastern Time, that the president is not expected to, the president is expected to survive this incident. I think that's the most important thing for people to know. The former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, current presumptive nominee in the Republican Party, is expected to survive this incident. That's the initial indication that we have from the ground. There is an initial indication that either a fragment of a piece of ammunition or ammunition may have struck the president. It's possible it could have been a bullet ricochet. We just don't know. It's very early in this investigation. We do not have any sort of sense of a suspect. We do not have any sort of a sense of it's just one person or two people. We don't know. We don't know the type of weapon that's used. We don't know the motivation, though it appears to be clear to be going after former President Trump. But again, the headline at this time, the initial indications is that Donald Trump is expected to survive this incident. We've got a lot more calls to make. We've got a lot more information to gather. What I may have just said could change entirely in the next 5 minutes, the next 5 hours. We don't know. But that's the initial indication that we have, all subject to change.
Tom Winter, of course, stay on this, and thank you for being with us tonight on this rapidly developing news story. Former President Donald Trump appears to have been shot or hit by some either ammunition or fragments in a rally that he was holding in Pennsylvania just moments ago. I want to turn to the moderator of Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, who is with us as well tonight. Kristen, these images that we're showing show the president to be conscious the former president to be conscious the entire time, shaking and waving his fist in the air. But there does seem to be blood emerging from his right ear, and possibly maybe some injury to the cheek.
Jose, that's right. The images are horrifying. The former president with his face bloodied. He's pumping his fists. He appears to be saying fight, fight, as he is ushered off stage by the Secret Service. the political world just starting to absorb what has unfolded in Pennsylvania with just days until the Republican National Convention gets underway. Let me read you some of the reactions so far. Kelly O'Donnell has reached out to the Secret Service saying they are still gathering information on this incident. So, of course, we will bring that to our viewers as soon as we get that. President Biden, for his part, was at church in Delaware. As he left, he was asked if he'd been briefed on this rally. He said no. He then got back into his motorcade. Undoubtedly, he will be briefed in the coming moments. J.D. Vance, of course, the senator from Ohio, who is a potential contender to be Trump's VP nominee, tweeting out, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay." Jose, we cannot overstate this. This will send shockwaves throughout the political world, throughout the country. As everyone absorbs what has happened. Again, the former president rushed off stage, pumping his fist, appearing to have been injured at this rally in Pennsylvania, Jose.
Kristen Walker, thank you so very much. Stay with us. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that rally. Dasha, if you would describe to us what set the stage for us, what was happening when the former president was apparently hit with something?
So those of us who are just joining, we were on the press risers. We were in front of the camera as the former president came onto the stage, started speaking. He was speaking, Jose, for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, perhaps even less. He was just starting to talk about the issue of immigration under President Biden. He put some slides up on the screens here. As he was starting to get into that issue, we were getting off the press risers here. I'll just tell you from my personal experience, because we were in the middle of all of this as this all transpired. We were getting off of the press riser, getting to the ground level where all of the attendees are on the grass here at this venue. We heard at first what I thought might have been fireworks. I even saw a little bit of smoke. Wasn't sure what was going on. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized this might be something more serious. We then got ourselves behind a barricade for safety, trying to make sure that our colleagues and our peers around us were safe. Everyone ducked down. As you see in that video, the former president ducked down. Secret Service came and protected him. People in the audience here, those who were attending, initial confusion, shock. Again, when you first hear those shots, you really do think this might be fireworks, just because this is not something that you are expecting when you're at an event like this. We get down on the ground. We hear those continued pop, 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 pops. They kept going. It felt like for a long time for those of us who were here on site. But as you said, listening to it back, it was about 8 to 11 or so of those popping sounds. As the scene started to quiet down, as we stopped hearing those sounds, the former president started to get up, his Secret Service escorting him off the stage. The crowd went from that initial shock, fear, to cheering for him as he stood up, and it was clear that he was not unconscious, but he did seem to be bloody. Then the crowd started to disperse. In fact, we're being told right now that they would like the media to exit the premises, so that's what we're going to do as soon as we finish this, Jose. I'll phone in later if we have more information, Jose.
Dasha, thank you very much. Do what is needed to do. Stay safe and do exactly what authorities are asking you to do. I want to, and if you're listening to us on radio, I want you to listen as well as watch what happened just short moments ago in Pennsylvania at former President Donald Trump's rally. We're going to start from this part and just go right through the whole incident.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move it spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
Okay, here, move it to the spare.
Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready.
We ready? Are we good?
Shooters down.
Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're good to move.
Clear.
We're
Let's
clear.
move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. My shoes.
Watch out.
Wait. This time around, as we play back what happened just a short while ago in Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally, I heard at least 13 shots, what appeared to be shots, and there was some difference in the intensity or strength of the shots, which could mean that there were a number of, again, shots fired initially, and then there was some responsive shots. We also heard members of security say the shooter is down. Peter Alexander is with us, our chief White House correspondent. Peter, what do we know as of right now? And I understand that President Biden has been informed of what happened.
Jose, that's right. We have been in touch with senior officials at the White House who tell NBC News that President Biden, who is spending this weekend at his property in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, has been informed, has been briefed by aides about the situation currently taking place, or that has just taken place at that rally for former President Trump in Pennsylvania. I spoke to another official there who conceded that they are trying to get as much information as they can right now. Clearly, there are a lot of events that are moving very quickly at this time. The president, only moments before this took place, was in church at Rehoboth, and when he exited the church, reporters asked him if he was aware of it or had been informed about it. At that time, he had not been. It's clear at this time he now has. This is clearly a very dramatic moment for this country. Both President Biden and many members of his staff have condemned political violence of all kinds. Nobody anticipated anything of this kind to take place. As someone who travels routinely with the president and formerly with former President Trump and with Mr. Trump as a candidate, the perimeter is usually very tightly protected from a great distance as well. As you saw, the U.S. Secret Service quickly swarming the former president before leading him off. You see the SWAT teams who quickly came into position. And I can tell you, having been at many of these Trump rallies, and here's a new picture from one of our colleagues there on the ground, the photojournalists who are in the front row, showing the blood on former president's face and clearly on his ear as well. There he is pumping his fist as he was effectively chanting "fight" to those members, his supporters who were there. The perimeter is usually quite wide here, and having traveled with President Biden recently when he was overseas in Europe, I was struck by how wide that perimeter was, with snipers in many areas keeping a very close eye. And I suspect many of our colleagues in law enforcement would communicate that for a former president and now the presumptive nominee on the Republican side, there would have been a very wide perimeter. So now that we are told by law enforcement that it's believed that Donald Trump will certainly survive this incident, immediately the questions turn to how this happened, who's responsible for it, and what needs to be done to help better secure any of these political figures over the course of the next several days and weeks, not the least of which begins with the Republican National Convention that's scheduled to start on Monday in Milwaukee. A giant perimeter has been built around the Milwaukee arena where they're going to be hosting that event. In Washington, a huge perimeter was built for the NATO summit that President Biden was participating in with world leaders as well. But as I'm speaking to you, I'm checking my phone and texting with colleagues, with staff at the White House for any additional information. Jose, as we gather that, we will, of course, share it with you.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much. Of course, continue monitoring this for us. I want to bring in retired ATF Special Agent Jim Kavanaugh. He is with us tonight. Jim, and when we look at these images, there is so much that tells people like you so much about the trajectory, where it seems that these gunshots or whatever came from. The president was looking towards his right when at least two of what seemed to be gunshots rang out. And then he immediately kind of went towards his right ear as he was dropping. It seems later, Jim, that there may be up to two what appear to be lines, one right up above his mouth on his cheek going towards his ear, and then one on the lower part of his cheek. What does this tell you, Jim?
Yeah, well, you're exactly right, Jose. I mean, he certainly reacted to his right. I mean, appears to be he was struck in his right ear. That appears to be where all the blood is. We don't know if that blood on the cheek is a wound or just blood spatter. It's hard to tell. But he certainly reacted to his right. He felt the sting on his right, probably his right ear. There's bleachers behind him that are filled, with supporters, but he kind of looks to his right. Now, it doesn't mean that the shot was directly to his right, that came directly from his right. It's just he had hit him on the.
Take a look at what happened. There you see it, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, stand by. I want to go to Kristen Welker, who has some very late-breaking news.
Jose, Secret Service spokesperson just posted on X saying an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. Again, that is from the Secret Service. Everyone just absorbing what has occurred and unfolded in Pennsylvania. We're also getting reaction from a number of the vice presidential potential picks of former President Trump. Again, just to reiterate, the Republican National Convention is just days away from getting underway, set to begin on Monday. Senator Rubio posting praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today. Senator Vance, everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, please join Catherine and me in praying for President Trump, his family, and everyone attending the rally today. Carrie Lake, of course, Senate candidate, posting, please pray for President Trump. So reaction just beginning to pour in from the political world. Of course, as Peter just reported, President Biden has been briefed. This is the scenario that everyone, of course, feared and was trying to protect against. Certainly as we head toward the conventions this summer, security is in the spotlight. The questions, of course, now, how could this have happened at a rally for the presumptive Republican nominee? And the questions, of course, will go on from there. How to prevent this from ever happening again. But again, the political world just beginning to absorb what has transpired at this rally in Pennsylvania. Sources, of course, on both sides of the aisle reaching out to say how horrified, how shocked, how in disbelief they are at what has unfolded. Jose.
Indeed, Kristen Welker, please stay with us. I want to go back to our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, with us on the phone. Tom, an update?
Jose, still gathering details at this hour. As you can imagine, things are very fluid, but the initial indications that we have from two senior U.S. law enforcement officials have been briefed on the matter is, first and foremost, former President Donald J. Trump is expected to survive whatever incident this is. So that's the first thing. As far as what this was, what type of incident it is, what might have happened, those are all details that law enforcement is trying to get a handle on. Was this a projectile? Was it a ricochet? Was it something that's not a gun? Could have been some other sort of device. Could have been anything else. We just don't know. It's just far too soon to say. And if anybody is in custody, who that person or persons might be and why they did this, all very much a question at this hour as I talk to you at 6:47 Eastern Time. So we're doing a lot of reporting. Law enforcement, U.S. Secret Service trying to get a handle on it. As you can imagine, federal law enforcement agencies, and I'm including my reporting with my colleague Jonathan Dienst on this, federal law enforcement agencies are all acutely aware of what's going on and are standing by to provide any sort of information or do any sort of investigative work, depending upon what they might find. Of course, there'll be questions about security. If this was, in fact, an intentional act, there'll be questions about the what and the why. But right now, I think folks are still trying to get a handle on the details, the most important of which, just so people understand the current condition of the former president, is that he is expected to survive.
Tom Wonter, thank you very much. Stay with us. I want to go to Hallie Jackson, who has an update from the Trump campaign. Hallie?
Yeah, per a campaign spokesperson, I'm going to read you this statement in full as obtained by our colleague Garrett Haake. That President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. The spokesperson goes on to say he is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. That is it for now. We do expect more details to follow. But obviously significant now as we're looking at some of these images here, Jose, of the former president being escorted off stage, that he is, in the words of the campaign, he is fine. He is apparently not seriously injured based on what they are telling us and is obviously being looked at now by doctors. It is an extraordinary moment, to say the least, here, that we are on the eve of the Republican National Convention, that for the presumptive Republican nominee, this has occurred, whatever this is, at a campaign rally just days before he is set to officially accept the nomination. We want to be super careful here because there's still a lot we don't know about motivation, but I will just echo what some of my colleagues have said here, having been to many of these kinds of rallies. There is a security perimeter in place for any time you go to an event with any current or former president. There are mags, there is security, there's a perimeter, and it is usually, obviously, always pretty intense. And so there are going to be a lot of questions here moving forward as to how this could have happened, as we're looking at these very dramatic visuals now from photographers who are lined up right there on stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. We have seen a lot of reaction coming in. I know that Kristen just went through some of it from people like Mike Pence, from others in the party, saying that they are praying for the former president. As you see there, the blood on his face as he's holding up his hand, that shot that we have been replaying here, Jose. But again, the word from the Trump campaign, he is fine, they say, and currently being checked out. We're going to update you the second we get anything more.
Hallie Jackson, thank you very much. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and has new reporting. She joins us on the phone. She was asked to leave the area as it is considered a crime scene.
Yeah, Jose, that's right. Everyone has now been evacuated. That includes attendees, staff, that includes the press as well. We have, our crew has convened. We're all together. With our sources, what has transpired, and we'll tell you how it's worried about security of these things. Every single Trump rally that I have heard, I have been to many, the security perimeter is very intense. You are a member of the media or a member of the public or even a member who is an elected official.
Dasha,
you are screened.
I'm so sorry. I just can't. We're not able to make out exactly what you're saying. It is a very chaotic scene where you are. The communications are difficult. We're going to try to reestablish a better line of communication with Dasha Burns. I want to go back to Peter Alexander. Peter, any word from the White House?
Jose, no new information from the White House right now, but I do want to share some information we are receiving from the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania, where this incident, this shooting, appears to have taken place only a short time ago. Governor Josh Shapiro writes, "Violence targeted at any political party or political leader is absolutely unacceptable." He says it has no place in Pennsylvania or the United States. He says he has been briefed on the situation by Pennsylvania State Police. He says he's been briefed on the situation, says that Pennsylvania State Police are on the scene in Butler County where this took place and are working with our federal and local partners. Again, those are the words of Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania. So that's just the latest information we're getting from there. Again, we are reaching out to to the staff at the White House right now. President Biden, as we noted earlier, is traveling. He is in Delaware right now. The reporters, the pool that travels with him, we are told by reporters they are being kept inside the vans that they normally travel in a safe distance away from his home. But that is the latest in terms of the information that we have, Jose.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much as we continue our coverage. Lester Holt continues with our breaking news.
Jose, thank you very much as we continue to cover the events here. I want to go to Dasha Burns. Dasha was in the crowd covering this event. I think we've reestablished your signal. Dasha, do you hear us okay?
Yeah, Lester, I'm on a better line, I think. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Lester, I will tell you what transpired is the former president was just starting his rally. He was only a few minutes into his speech. He was talking about immigration under President Biden. I and our team were up on the press risers as he first started speaking. We were just making our way off of those risers. We were heading to the ground level where all of the attendees were on the grass in the field at this venue when we heard what initially I thought might have been fireworks. The Trump rallies often involve pyrotechnics. Sometimes there is smoke for effect. So initially there was confusion, shock, surprise for myself being there personally, but also as I looked around to the crowd and everyone around us. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized that it might be something more serious as we heard those consecutive pop, pop, pops that you could hear on the video. We took cover behind some stage equipment. We looked around to make sure that our colleagues were in a safe position as we saw the entire audience, all of the attendees, get down on the ground. You could, of course, see in that video the former president also getting down, his Secret Service covering him. So from confusion to sudden fear. Then when the former president, you see him in that video rising up, he holds his hand up in the air. The audience started to cheer. There were some chants of USA, USA. Still a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. Attendees started to evacuate. Eventually, the reason I'm on the phone with you, we were evacuated as well. So, Lester, at this point, I will tell you that venue is empty aside from law enforcement, Secret Service. Trump staff are gone, attendees are gone, the press is gone. My team and I are now in a safe location. The security at these events, one of the reasons, Lester, this was so confusing and surprising and shocking for us all, of course, this is what everyone fears when it comes to the heated political environment that we are in. We don't know what exactly happened, what transpired, but people fear political violence. So this was scary for all of us who were there. But every rally that I have ever been to, Lester, because of that concern, is thoroughly protected. There are security mags, whether you're a member of the press, whether you're a member of the public, even elected officials are screened. Every item that you are carrying is looked at by a member of security. There is a pretty strict protocol about what you can and cannot bring in, which is why there was so much confusion when this started, because there are so many precautions taken to prevent any sort of violence, any sort of unsafe situation. And we are now safe. But this was this moment into this rally, Jose.
Dasha, let me ask you, you and others, I think, have described multiple shots fired. First of all, do we know anyone in the crowd, anyone who was there? Has anyone been hit? And also, what do we know about the shooter?
We don't know, as far as from my vantage point, where exactly those shots came from. It's a really large venue, Lester, and it was hard to tell exactly where the shots were coming from. I thought I saw some smoke on the right-hand side of the stage, but again, the Trump rallies often have those sorts of special effects, so it wasn't clear if that had to do with those shots or not. I talked to, in that chaotic moment, asked the people around me, the people in the audience, the attendees that were near me, once we all sort of came up for air, if everyone was okay. I did not hear of anyone who was injured. People were certainly.
Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Former President Donald Trump is on his way to Milwaukee tonight for the Republican National Convention, just 24 hours after he was shot during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Lena Tillett. In the last few hours, we've learned the names of the 3 Trump supporters who were also shot, one of whom died. We now know local law enforcement encountered the shooter on the roof just moments before he fired shots. And the FBI says they're investigating the shooting as an act of terrorism. Already, they say they've received more than 2,600 tips.
We have team coverage, more reaction and analysis tonight as the focus turns to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee and how yesterday's shooting could impact the 4-day event.
We begin with Julia Benbrook, who's digging into the details of yesterday's tragic shooting and shares how convention leaders plan to ramp up security.
Take a look at what happened.
And back here in the Live Center, where we continue to follow the latest coming out of Milwaukee ahead of the Republican National Convention. My reporting tonight has found that there is a message of unity being discussed in Milwaukee ahead of the RNC. Full on your screen is a quote from a Republican strategist I spoke with. He says there is a recognition that what happened is dangerously close to igniting something that no one wants to see happen. I'm told by a delegate that there is a reception happening tonight where they plan on firming up some messaging. I also spoke today with North Carolina House Representative Jared Lowry, who tells me that he is hopeful for a message of unity this week.
You know, of course, we do have a platform and we have policies and things that we want to put forward. But my hope is that every speaker will have at least one moment to say, look, at the end of the day, we need to put everything that divides us aside, because what unites us is there's more things that unite us than divide us.
And as we have been reporting, former President Trump is on his way to Milwaukee. Back to you.
Thank you.
Messages of encouragement have come in from both sides of the aisle after former President Trump and 3 of his supporters were shot yesterday.
North Carolina lawmakers are sharing their shock and dismay about the attempted assassination. WRAL's Julian Grace joins us live tonight from the legislative building with what they're saying leading up to the convention. Julian?
Well, Joe, some GOP lawmakers have already made that 900-mile commute to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, including Senator Jim Bergen from the 12th District. He sat down with us earlier today in a 101 Zoom call interview, and he had a lot to say. He shared his thoughts on the shooting and his concerns for the overall political climate. And during our interview, he also talked about the future of politics.
Where do we go from here?
I think we pray about it. I think there's been more prayers lifted up for politics and politicians in this country over the last 24 hours than probably any time in our history.
Now, that interview with Senator Bergen lasted about 10 minutes, but he had plenty to say, including this. He believes the country will see a change in Donald Trump. What type of change is he talking about? I'll have that for you all new tonight at 10 and 11.
Thank you, Julian. We also reached out to Democrats today. North Carolina Representative Marcia Mori, of Durham, says a major part of the problem is the tone and character of political discourse.
This rhetoric of fighting and violence has got to stop. We have to be civil. We have to engage in good discussions and debates and never resort to violence. It's intolerable. I think it feeds people. It feeds people in crowds. It ramps up the energy. It ramps up the anger. And there's no need for that. And political leaders should know that.
Maury also used the opportunity to call for restrictions on assault weapons.
About an hour ago, I talked to former state Supreme Court Justice Bob Orr. The former Republican, now independent, said both political parties owe it to their voters to now tamp down the rhetoric.
You have this incredible protective
envelope around the candidate, and yet this still happens. You think about the risk that our communities face of political violence where you don't have this kind of immediate protection.
He said Republicans have an opportunity at the convention to strike a different tone. He said this incident could be what makes that happen.
It is another blazing hot day. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Anthony, some people seeing some rain and showers today.
Yeah, that heat, Gerald, is sparking some of these storms out there. It actually has kind of some fuel for them to get going. Let's get us over to radar because you can see there are a couple severe thunderstorm warnings showing up as you get closer to the coast. That's going to remain out of our viewing area. We do not anticipate any severe weather tonight, but you can see certainly some inconvenient showers if you're out there this evening. Let's take you to this one. No lightning or anything showing up right now, but you can see just south of Spring Hope, right around Bailey, Elm City, it's not moving much. So that cell could definitely provide some rainfall here that's coming down at a moderate clip for us in that direction. Just to the east of Southern Pines around Vass, you can see this is also a decent cell. Again, they're not moving much though, so it's going to drop some decent rainfall in a short period of time. Our temperatures though, our big story here for us today and over the next couple of days. 104 is what it currently feels like around the triangle. We hit 100 on the dot here at RDU today for an actual high temperature. Feels like values were close to 110 for us today. It currently feels like 106 in Clinton, 102 in Goldsboro. Some of that rain-cooled air really helping us out there in Rocky Mount. 84 is a little bit cooler compared to where we were earlier today. Heat advisory continues until 7 o'clock this evening. What that's saying is kind of like what we're seeing out there right now. 105 to 109 is what it may feel like. And then we rinse and repeat again tomorrow. Check that out. We have another heat advisory on the way. Feels like values 105 to 109. We are used to this pattern, but it just is a dangerous kind of heat setup for us, if you will. 11 a.m. tomorrow morning till about 8 p.m. tomorrow evening is when that one sets up. We do have a couple more days of this. So our Monday, our Tuesday, even into Wednesday feels like temps in the low 100s, 107 tomorrow, 105 on Wednesday. We then start to get a bit of a pattern change as we head later on into this week. It's due to more cloud cover and many rain chances headed this way, which I'll show you here in just a second. Our Monday, though, holds kind of that first shot for us. We start off completely dry. No problems there even as we go closer to lunchtime. You can see as that timestamp plays along, maybe a few clouds floating on by, but I think we're looking pretty good. We go into the afternoon like we're seeing out there today with that heat and humidity. We could see some storms starting to bubble up there, mainly south of the triangle. It's not a lot of rainfall, but then as we get later on this week, it's going to be similar to actually to what we saw this past Thursday, where we get some storms bubbling up and it's going to be some decent widespread rainfall. I know there's a lot of percentages on this map, so I want to kind of clarify a little bit of where we're talking about those best chances. So 100 degrees tomorrow, yet again, very, very hot temperatures. 98 on Tuesday. We slowly start to go down there. You see that little bit of a break as we get into our even Thursday feeling a little bit better. 80 on Friday, 83 on Saturday. The best rain chances, though, coming in for this week, probably setting up there Thursday and Friday, where it's going to be pretty likely across the area, Gerald and Lena. So it's going to be some decent rainfall for us, and thankfully some relatively milder weather heading into next weekend.
That delights me to no end. Thank you, Anthony.
No end. All right, Casey Hintz is here with sports. Hey, Casey.
Welcome in on a weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
Former Southeast Raleigh standout was back in town this weekend, looking to make a difference in the community. Plus, it's draft day. The names you should be watching for on night one of the MLB draft. Next.
Center field, a call putting. Honeycutt launches left field. Good night again.
Boy, we've been so lucky here in the Triangle to watch guys like Vance Honeycutt over the last few years, and tonight he'll join the best prospects in baseball who will hear their name called in the MLB draft. Now, the draft is much longer than other professional sports, 20 rounds over the next 3 days. Tonight features the first 2 rounds as well as 2 competitive balance rounds. That's which an extra pick goes to the smaller market teams. Now, as for North Carolina's Honeycutt, he's projected to go mid-first round, which would make him the first Tar Heel to be selected in the first round since Aaron Sabato was selected 27th overall by the Minnesota Twins back in 2020. Now, as a Golden Glove winner, he's arguably one of the most dynamic and talented outfielders at the plate. Aside from his late game heroics, this season he had 70 RBIs, 28 stolen bases. Now, the knock on Honeycutt did his strikeouts, which increased this season, but no doubt he certainly has the explosive tools. We'll find out tonight if analytics or athleticism. will win. Now, Honeycutt not the only name we're watching tonight. Duke's Jonathan Santucci could join him in the first round. Currently ranked number 37 among all prospects. The left-handed pitcher was 6-1 last season for the Blue Devils with 90 strikeouts. NC State catcher Jacob Cozart also projected to go 42nd overall. He shines behind the plate as one of the best defensive catchers in the country. Meanwhile, at the plate, he had a .305 batting average with 19 home runs. UNC's Casey Cook and State's Eli Serrano also in the top 250 with players ranked in this year's draft. Well, Gabe Henderson is a member of the class of 2010 for Southeast Raleigh, and he's one of the most successful quarterbacks in school history. Last August, he returned home for the Bulldogs as they retired his number 10 jersey. But shortly after this ceremony, Henderson said they heard gunshots near the school. From that moment, he decided he had to do something for his community. And on January 1st of this year, he wrote on the whiteboard, "Football camp, July 13th." Well, Henderson stuck to the plan and held his camp yesterday on the field at Southeast Raleigh. Over 50 kids participated, learning some fundamentals from Henderson, along with some of his former coaches and teammates. Now, Henderson has made a career of football, not only on the field, but now as a member of the on-air team for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, he says being in a position to give back to the community that helped him succeed in football means a lot.
For me, living in Minneapolis and loving where I come from, I wear Raleigh loud and proud wherever I go. And having an opportunity to do this and bring back some of my old coaches, some of my old teammates, and have it on the field that pretty much gave me the opportunity that I have today. It's a dream come true, man, and I can't be more thankful for how things turned out.
To see Gabe and some of the other players and coaches come back and give to the community, I'm like a proud papa, just to see these guys give back, unselfish and, the things that they do and to take the time out of their day to come and, be with Gabe and support him. And I'm so proud to even be a part of this.
Well, the Carolina Hurricanes have inked defenseman Dominic Badinka to a 3-year entry-level contract. The blue liner was the Canes' first pick in this year's NHL draft, which came in the second round, 34th overall. Badinka will receive $775,000 at the NHL level and $85,000 at the American Hockey League level for all 3 seasons. The deal will also include a signing bonus worth over $282,000. I just want to eat up those kids. They were so cute out there.
So cute.
They should have been practicing. They should have been practicing on the ice. That would have been a little bit more comfortable for those kids today.
Casey, thanks so much. And thank you for joining us. We'll have much more on the Trump assassination attempt coming up.
Nightly News is next. Have a good night.